Ready for today's podcast. We have Jen Malecha here, and we're going to talk about connecting dots between gut, liver, and thyroid. Be with us till the end. We have great topic and great freebies together. Hello everyone. I'm getting back to normal. Since yesterday, I was so busy with Summit book launch, and now this is a green healing show after a week. I'm very happy to have you here, Jen. It's been a long time. We got to talk about this topic, and finally, I have her in the show.
Yes, it's finally aligned that our schedules match up, and it's so good that you're out there advocating for people and doing your summit and this type of show to help people get the information they need to just live their best lives ultimately, right?
Yes, thank you so much. So, I know that you are doing functional medicine and you try to find a connection between mind and body, which is my favorite topic. And here we're gonna talk about gut, liver, and thyroid. That's so interesting when you see the connection between them. And I love to go and talk about this more deeply and how we can find this find this gap between these connections.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. It's very personal to me, given that I've had a history of Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition, as well as I've dealt with hypothyroidism in my lifetime as well too. I'm happy to say that both of those things are under control naturally, and I was able to reverse my Hashimoto's even within 6 months of diagnosis with some of the concepts that we are going to talk about today, because it's very important to understand, I think, the underlying workings or factors related to our health, like our, as I like to say to Pente, that our body doesn't just wake up one day deciding to be dysfunctional. It's whatever you're experiencing right now in your health is an accumulation of things that have happened over your lifetime. And when we see something going on, like a thyroid issue, for example, the body is this network of complex systems that all kind of interwork together. And so we want to take a look at those pieces and ask, well, why is the thyroid not working optimally as it should be? And that's where we can start to explore some of these other pieces and connections that ultimately impact something like thyroid function, right?
Exactly. That's like last week, I guess. Yeah, last week I had somebody as a guest, Dr. Gupta, and he also has a book about the thyroid and Hashimoto.
Hmm.
That's so interesting to know that this kind of problem is not only adjusting the hormones. You can do this if you don't go and find the deepest layer for your Hashimoto. And as you
Hmm.
say, it may be gut issue, it may be liver issue, so you have to
Hmm.
find the connection. Before going to that, just wonder if you, what did you do before functional medicine? Did you had functional medicine expertise when you had Hashimoto, or you studied and then find your problems there?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. And I think, like, probably most people that get into the functional medicine or functional health space, we kind of landed here a lot of times because of our own personal health journey. So I wasn't always in this space. I went to college and I studied fitness, nutrition, and the body in the terms of kinesiology, because I knew that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to work in health in some kind of way. And that path actually led me down the fitness path, where I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. I thought I wanted to be a sports psychologist. And what I actually found a lot of joy in was personal training at the time, because personal training enveloped like the diet and the exercise piece, which back in the early 2000s, when I was going to college, that was kind of all we really knew about health at that time, or at least mainstream. That was like the focus was just diet and exercise. And so I worked in that world for quite some time. And what started happening is I was having my own health issues. Like, even though I was eating healthy and exercising according to what the standards were back then, I was like struggling with just like really intense fatigue in the afternoons. Like, I would get a double Americano from Starbucks and still be struggling to keep my eyes open when I was like training my afternoon clients. I was having really odd reactions to things. Like, I remember writing out like a calendar, the scheduling book that we had for the trainers, and using a permanent marker. And after about 30 minutes of doing that, I got so dizzy and nauseous that I had to go home, and somebody had to drive me home. And that was a chemical sensitivity or reaction that I was having. I was also like starting to experience really intense and severe allergies that would then build into sinus infections and lead to these ear infections that would wipe me out for days at a time. And then I was having like kind of like infrequent migraines that would come and go. And then the really big thing that happened to me was around the age of 25, I was diagnosed with skin cancer, with melanoma. And there was no family history. There was no other like related cancers in my family. And I was really young. And although I was living in Southern California, I wasn't necessarily like a, sunbather, like a frequent tanner or anything like that. I mean, I was an active individual, but I wasn't frying my body all the time. And so that was when the light bulb kind of went on and made me think like, well, there's something else that's going on here, because every time I would go to the doctor and for like my annual physical, I was told that I looked perfect on paper. Like, my doctor would literally say, "Oh, you're the picture of perfect health. I wish that all of my patients were like you. You eat so healthy, you exercise." And I was like, I look so, this all looks great, but I don't feel that way. I kind of feel crappy. I really struggled also with just like maintaining my weight. It was constantly bouncing up and down. And I just didn't really feel comfortable in my body. Although from the outside, most people probably would have said, you look great, you don't look overweight, but we all know what it feels like to feel at home in our body. And I just didn't feel that way. And so then the skin cancer thing really came about. And I was like, started to put all these clues together and realize there's some missing pieces here. Like, this just doesn't make sense to me. And right around that time,
Sorry, you
uh,
had a skin cancer before Hashimoto, right?
yes, I did.
Okay.
So, well, I'll fast forward to that part. So, right around that time is when I got introduced to functional approaches to health through Reed Davis, who's the founder of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition, and went through his training course. And then I, learned about functional lab testing and a more holistic approach to health and a different way of looking at disease. And through that process, found that I had really high oxidative stress, like a lot of cellular damage in my body. I had a congested liver, and I had H. pylori, a pretty like nasty destructive bacteria going on in my gut. So it all made sense eventually how I had cultivated this perfect like environment for cancer to flourish. So got into that, started doing this work on myself. Since then, I've been skin cancer free. It's never come back or anything like that. So I'm really proud to say that. I'm 38 at this time. So it's been 13 years since that happened. And then life was going great. And all of a sudden, a little bit after I turned 30, my health started to like slide again. And I had started working from home full time, doing, being a functional health practitioner, working virtually with people. And unbeknownst to us, for a while, we had toxic mold in our home. So the toxic mold, again, burdened my body with all these chemicals and toxins and overwhelmed my immune system, which resulted in things like estrogen dominance. Like, I had elevated estrogen. I gained a whole bunch of weight. I had crazy acne that was going on. That elevated estrogen and like that, weight on my liver and my immune system and the digestive system resulted then in hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, essentially. So I then took action and applied all of these approaches that we'll kind of talk about with our time here today. and was able to, like, we removed the mold out of our house. So I was able to get out of the toxic environment and then work on healing my body to reverse the Hashimoto's, reverse the hypothyroidism, get the estrogen back in balance. And now at the age of 38, I feel better than I did at 30 or even in my 20s. I feel I'm like a much healthier person at this point in
Wow,
time.
that's very inspirational. And as you said, so you knew that you have Hashimoto. I mean, you got the signs and then you went to doctor and check it for Hashimoto.
Hmm.
But because you already practice functional medicine, you knew what to do, right?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. So, there's some of the typical things that people might know about. Like, I changed my diet right away. I was already eating basically an anti-inflammatory diet, avoiding some of the common things like gluten and dairy and sugar and soy and reduced alcohol intake. But then I took it a step further and I did a modified AIP diet or autoimmune paleo diet. And I like committed to doing that for at least 90 days to help reduce any other inflammatory factors on my body. And that really helped a lot. I'm also, like, in part of the work that I do, very, very conscious of sleep routines and patterns, because at night when we're sleeping is when the body has the greatest opportunity to heal, especially when we think about something like the liver or detox organs. That's where they're doing the bulk of their work, is in the middle of the night, typically between the window of like 1 to 3 a.m. So it's really essential to make sure that you're sleeping all the way through the night so that you're not disrupting that process. So that's one of the things that I work with people on. It's something that I've done for myself, and I'm very protective of my sleep. Like, it's got to be a really good party or a really good social event to catch me up beyond like 10 p.m. at night, because the most critical time for us to be sleeping and healing is from about 10 p.m. to 4 or 6 a.m.
Do
So
you have
that was,
kids?
I don't, I know. I
You
am
know,
lucky in that
that's the
regard.
point. Before having kids, I was a very good sleeper. 8
Hmm.
hours at 11:30 I was asleep. 10, 11 I was asleep, and then I could sleep 8 to 9 hours. But when your baby is up at 1
Mhm.
p.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m., this
Yeah.
is not easy to handle. As she grows, it's much easier. But
Hmm.
I think you are right, because sleep is a very important factor, especially for parents and mothers. Because for me, by the time I didn't have a sleep issue, I was totally healthy. And as soon as I get this pattern of getting up at night, then I think now I have to look at myself again and try to adjust something.
I, I think it's, parents have to navigate with what they're dealing with, right? And I think that moms, through some of those younger years with their kids, that you guys have like a superhuman power to be able to not sleep and still function. I think that's like a built-in, survival mechanism. But then it's like sometimes what we want to see is that pattern to, like, resolve itself once your kid starts sleeping through the night. Is you also want to be sleeping through the night too, to rebound from like what's been happening. And yeah, sleep is really important. And then, one of the things that I also really emphasize with people that I don't think a lot of people talk about is exercise intensity. So having come from a personal training background and this fitness background, I was very adamant about working out hard. Like, I would go to the gym and Olympic lift, and I was like, would run for long distances. Like, I didn't feel like I was getting a good workout unless it hurt, basically. Right. And what I've come to realize through this experience that I've had is that typically exercise is a good stress. Like, we exercise, we put a strain on our body, it responds, it builds stronger bones and muscles, right? And a lot of people use exercise to de-stress. But this is what you have to think about, is that when your body is already in a depleted state because you didn't get a good night's sleep, or you're eating inflammatory foods, or you've got something like Hashimoto's or mold or something going on with your health, then when we're exercising at an intense level, we're breaking down the body and asking it to rebuild when it's already depleted. So one of
I
the
like that.
keys,
I
yeah,
like
one of the keys in helping myself like reverse Hashimoto's so quickly was that I actually committed to doing 30 days of just yoga and walking only, to really give my body a break, to let it have this time to like make leaps and bounds in my recovery. And that was huge. Like I felt so much better after 30 days of doing that, right? And then the other things that I was doing through this process of healing was like paying attention to toxins in my environment, especially toxins like, chlorine and bromelain and fluoride that bind to thyroid hormone and make it inactive and impact that, or toxins that disrupt hormones in the body. We know them as endocrine disruptors, and really starting to take a closer look at those things. I had already done some of that work because of my, time as a functional health practitioner. But when I, got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, it kind of incentivized me to even take it a level deeper, where then we got a whole house filtration water system, and we swapped out all of our cookware for stainless steel and cast iron, and finally got rid of the nonstick pans and things like that. And the biggest work was really in like removing the mold, and then helping my detoxification system really move things out, right? And the reason why we want to connect the dots between the liver, the thyroid, and the gut is because the liver tissue and the intestinal lining, or the digestive tract, is where a large portion of our thyroid hormone is converted. Along with that, our liver helps to eliminate toxins that can negatively impact our thyroid, or that can negatively impact estrogen. So when toxins get built up in the body, or certain type of toxins can elevate estrogen, and elevated estrogen levels can trigger things like thyroid issues, right? So we want to be eliminating these toxins out of the body, and the liver is a big part of that. And then when it comes to the gut as well, the gut is where we absorb all of our nutrients. So we talk about replenishing the body and giving it the nutrients that it needs to really produce thyroid hormone, or to convert thyroid hormone. We need to make sure that the digestive system is working really well. So it's like this, we can see these multifaceted things that have to do with the liver and the gut when it really comes to thyroid hormone, in terms of thyroid hormone production and conversion. And this is why it needs to be a huge focus in resolving thyroid conditions and issues.
exactly. So for liver detoxification, my parents are over 7 years old, but every morning they have warm water and they add some turmeric inside. And after 30 minutes, they have their lunch. They have their breakfast. My father also walk and he's very active. Um, do you recommend this?
Easy practices like that we can incorporate into our day. There's some basic things that people can do to help boost their natural detoxification capacity. Like there's foods that are naturally really impactful when it comes to detoxification. So even things like beets. Beets are very powerful for our detoxification process. Or grapefruit, for example, or dandelion greens, or dandelion tea. So a lot of people don't like to eat dandelion greens because they're a little bit bitter for some people, but you can get some really great organic dandelion tea, and you can incorporate that into your daily routine very simply, right? Some other things that I love to do that are simple to help like support detoxification is also making sure that you're drinking plenty of water, because toxins are moved out of the body by being attached to a water molecule. So if we're dehydrated, we're limiting the capacity for toxins to be eliminated, right? And so you want to be drinking at a minimum at least half of your weight in ounces of water. So if you're 200 pounds, you should be drinking 100 ounces of water. And then for every 30 minutes of exercise or caffeinated like drink that you're having, or a diuretic type of drink, so something that dehydrates you like alcohol, you want to add an extra 8 ounces of water to that. So these are things that we can focus on easily, right? Other stuff that's really helpful for detoxification is like just moving your body every single day. Like our lymphatic system is like kind of the body's natural sewage system. And think of it like a network of veins that run through your body, just like your blood vessels do, but it's really close to the surface. The difference is that your heart pumps blood through your blood vessels. The lymphatic system isn't attached to anything that pumps it naturally. So one of the ways we can move the lymphatic system is by physical activity. So eat something as simple as walking or yoga, or based on your health, situation, you can go with more intense exercise, right? And then one of my old favorites, it's kind of an Ayurvedic, a naturopathic approach, is castor oil packs. So doing a castor oil pack, like you get some
So
castor
sorry, you
oil.
know Ayurvedic?
I don't know. I just know that
Yeah,
it's an Ayurvedic practice,
yeah.
and I love I love Ayurvedic practices. But you just get, and it's so funny when I talk about castor oil, especially with some of my middle-aged or older clients. They'll say like, "I can't believe you're talking about castor oil. My grandma used to tell me to, drink a tablespoon of castor oil a day." I'm like, "That's because there's so many health benefits with castor oil," and so. Um, for a castor oil pack, you get some castor oil, you get some wool flannel, or like the Queen of the Thrones, Marisol. She's one of my favorite naturopathic doctors that developed a hassle-free, easy castor oil pack. And you basically like you put castor oil over your liver and your digestive tract, and it helps to boost not only liver function and detoxification, but it also helps to reduce inflammation in the gut and help to heal the intestinal lining, and it helps to balance hormones. So it's like this tool that you can use that knocks so many things out, or addresses so many things. And I personally use a castor oil pack about 3 to 4 times a week, and I started doing that a long time ago when I had Hashimoto's and the mold, and that's a practice that I've continued on even now that I'm kind of resolved those things, because there are so many toxins in our environment that negatively, burden or impact our liver and our digestive system. So it's good to have some of these practices just naturally in place, because, with the number of toxins that have been released and how quickly they're coming out, like our body has not evolved fast enough in order to handle that, right? Like evolution happens through generations. It doesn't happen through like necessarily our lifetime. So it's these are the types of things that we can be doing to help combat what's going on in our environment.
Great tips. I love it. And yeah, we can actually use these are very easy to um, do. And the point is, sometimes you think, oh, you want to do a mysterious thing and you have to go start something. But when something like this detoxification be part of your life, then
Mhm.
you get used to it. You don't need to do so many things to get rid of the toxins or having a very strange diet. So sometimes just changing a simple thing can change your whole life, especially your lifestyle. And what I like about talking about the workout,
Mhm.
I have clients, fertility clients, and they can't, some of them, they can get pregnant because of two factors. One is workload. They have too much
Yes.
work, and that's why their energy drain. So they don't have enough energy to just go through their life. And
Mhm.
then another problem they have, they think that because they don't have enough energy, they are so tired after work, and then they go to workout.
Yep.
Even worse, right? You don't have energy. You need some rest, and you go and make yourself more tired.
Mhm.
And one of my clients actually was so interesting. I just look at her lifestyle. She intensively work hard, and she was teen, and she was always tired. And she thought, oh, this is I'm doing workout because I'm gonna feel healthy. But then I said, why do you stress out? Why do you stress yourself so much?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's good to exercise. I love exercise. But like me, I had a miscarriage after doing swimming.
Mm.
So my doctor said, do swimming whatever you want. And then because I was a regular swimmer, of the too much swimming, and then I missed the baby, lost the baby. So that's what happened. Like when you work too hard,
Yes.
you have to look at your energy. I'm not saying to be lazy, but um, as somebody who is here, as somebody who done personal training, you can have a fit body, you can be healthy with regular
Mm-hmm.
and enough workout.
Yes. I mean, the same thing goes for, I see the same challenge with the clients that I work with that are trying to lose weight. And they're just pushing themselves to go to the gym and not, and there are, they work long hours, they're really stressed out, they're not sleeping right. And then they're going there. So they're in this depleted state and then they go and work out. And I always give like the perfect example of this is, you get to Friday. Most what it like this is so common in our female community is you get to Friday, especially if you're a single woman or like working in the corporate world. And so the first, on a Friday, you want to go have happy hour with your girlfriends. So you go to happy hour, you tell yourself you're only going to have 2 glasses of wine. Well, that never really happens. It turns into like a whole bottle. You end up, feeling inhibitions and like eating things that that are not great for you, like even if it's cheese and crackers, right? These are inflammatory foods. You end up like staying up late possibly, or not getting a great night's sleep because of the alcohol consumption and maybe the carbs and the things that you ate. And then what's the first thing that most women, like in this cycle, like what do they do when they wake up in the next day? They're like, oh, I have to go to the gym and burn it off. So here you are, like sleep deprived, nutrient deprived, inflamed, stressed after a long week. And you go like, you try to run your, like, burn it off at the gym and just run yourself into the ground when you're already in the depleted state, which actually contributes to the weight gain or the fatigue or the energy issues that you're having. And these things also contribute to the thyroid imbalances or the hormone imbalances or the other things. So I think, these are the things that are at the root of like what's really going on. And these are the types of, like, living life this way is what contributes to the liver congestion, the dysfunctional digestive system, and the gut, that this vicious cycle that ensues that creates things like thyroid imbalances ultimately. That, you can't, like I always say, like, you can't out supplement or out diet or out exercise a poor sleep routine or like, a maniac lifestyle. It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So if you want a different outcome with your health, whatever is happening, you have to learn to do things differently, basically.
Jen, you talk about singles, and no, married and the parents are the other sides. They do exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Not with the going out and dating or having a happy hour with their girlfriends, but because they don't have enough sleep,
Mm-hmm.
that's why whatever they eat it's not going to absorb the right way in their gut,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's the same, like almost the same concept, because you deprive yourself from sleeping because you want to go out or you have to take care of the baby. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
And then what happened in the middle, you have to eat rush, and for a mother or whatever, you don't have time to cook properly, and you have to feed your baby. It's too many things here happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever happens, we I think the depth is self-care.
Yeah.
the depths of it is self-care. Whatever you are single or you're married parent, you have to take care of yourself as a woman.
Mhm. Yes.
And is not saying that you shouldn't have a happy hour, have it, enjoy it, but you have to take care of what you drink, what you eat, and how you sleep.
Exactly. And if you're going to indulge, then be okay with just taking a walk the next day and not grinding it out at the gym.
Exactly. I love our talk, and this was a very great topic. And actually, I know the connection between gut, liver, and thyroid, because the problem is people are getting the sign, they go to a specialist, they just try to remove that sign. But if you know the connection between gut, liver, and thyroid, then you try to find these dots that is already missing, and
hmm
you try to be healthy in all over your body.
Yes.
Yes.
It's putting the pieces of the puzzle together.
Exactly. And that's her website here, right?
Yes.
Tell me about your website. What do you have there? Instagram, and you have a Facebook page.
Yeah. So my website here is holistichealthboss.com. Holistic is with a W, like the word whole food, whole body. On my website, I have been blogging for a really long time about these topics that we've been talking about. So you can find a lot of wonderful resources, information, and tips and inspiration there. I also have a 21-day program that's free on there to help you figure out why you're feeling fat, sick, and tired all the time, where we talk in more detail over the course of these 21 days about figuring out what foods are right for your body so it can function at its potential and you can have more energy, working on what's going on with your sleep, and then maybe even exploring some gut bugs, things like, do you have parasites or bacteria or yeast overgrowth that's going on that's impacting your digestion and absorption of nutrients? And so you can also connect with me on Instagram at Holistic Health Boss, as well as Facebook as Holistic Health Boss. And I'm really active over on both of those places on a regular basis, pretty much daily, for more tips, information, and resources there too.
Thank you so much. Only 21 days, right? That's
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
That's interesting. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, I can have you again and again. I really enjoy our talk.
Would love to be here again. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Please subscribe to Pantal Calhor Transition channel to get the latest interviews, and order my book PTSD Compass through Amazon. How to confront PTSD and navigate trauma to triumph.